Beat it down, get it over with. Thank you, Rick. Tom?
I don't.
Ron?
Yes, Mayor. The one thing I'd like to bring up is that I still want to push for the body cams and the dash cams for the police department. After seeing what's going on out in St. Louis, I think it's something that we should most certainly consider for the safety of our officers and for the safety of the citizens of Buchanan also. And the second thing I want to do is I want to make a motion that we take the information that Jeremy has given us tonight and we give that to some outside counsel to research that as to see if that is pertinent to us as far as the FOIA requests go concerning the ALPRs.
Why does an outside counsel have to do it?
Well, if you're going to ask, I would say because of the hostilities of our current legal representative against Mr. McGowan.
Are you suggesting that his professional judgments?
I am suggesting I have seen his temper get the best of him, and I'm not so certain that he would use best of judgment, and I think we should need some outside counsel.
I think, I would disagree with that strongly. Well,
That motion to appoint an outside counsel to research Jeremy's information. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion?
we're gonna,
Why can't we get another opinion?
why can't we hear what his opinion is first and then decide if we?
I think we've heard it.
I think we've heard it many times.
I'd like to hear a response to the specific information that was raised tonight.
I'll be happy to, Mr. O'Neill. First, I did my doctoral dissertation.
I don't mean right now.
My doctoral dissertation in law school was on the Open Governmental Proceedings Act and the Freedom of Information Act. So I know a little bit about open governmental proceedings and FOIA. 32 years of practice, did it in law school. So here's the thing. I want to know, as a suspicious husband, whether my wife's been running around on me. I've been out of town for a week. I'm going to, not really. I'm going to send a request to the city of Buchanan to see if maybe their gizmo, the ALPR, has picked up her car. And I want to know places where she's been and the times where she's been and the whole bit. Under our agreement with the state of West Virginia, with the West Virginia State Police, the Fusion Center, and by the way, those documents were drafted by the West Virginia Attorney General's office, okay? So we want to know where the West Virginia Attorney General weighs in. He's been here to City Hall through his assistants, has told us what the law is, right? Relative to their position on it. And they drafted the agreements, right?
Well, are we talking FOIA or?
We would
Let's
be
talk
for you.
That's where I'm getting. That's where I'm getting. If somebody makes that request that they want that information, the police officer would have to access the database. The police officer would be in civil and criminal violation of misuse of a state-owned criminal data bank that can only be accessed by city police officers who suspect criminal activity. Now, is Mr. McGowan suggesting, is he admitting to us that he's been engaged in criminal behavior and he wants us to check to see whether we can confirm something? No, that's a misuse of this device. And it would result in our police officers misusing the device under the terms of that agreement.
Well, not only that, I think it would, not to interrupt you, but my understanding is that the same laws that govern the use of things like the III, NCIC, also require the same standard, and that would be violated. And those laws, and those are statutory requirements that in their specificity would overrule FOIA as far as being police records.
Absolutely. There's another part of this too. This data is akin to tax information. Mayor Davidson and Mr. Doss, as the city treasurer, now city administrator, via an agreement that this city entered into about 20 years ago with the state tax department, okay, has the ability to enter databases that are generated by the Department of Tax and Revenue and to look at people's personal income tax returns and information like that. You have that power, Mayor. I don't know whether you knew it, but I think you did, right? You've never done that, but you have the power to do it. It would be an abuse of power for you to do that arbitrarily. Now, if Mr. Doss is trying to confirm that the store down the street really does make more than $1 million a year in gross revenues, but they're only saying they made $900,000 so that they don't have to pay city B&O, he can access that information and get, and because it's a city purpose, right? I'm sitting out there and I'm real curious as to what that successful attorney, Tom O'Neill's making. I'm just champing at the bit. I want to know that. I'm going to file a FOIA request with Mayor Davidson because he has the ability, technically has the power, to access that state database, their information, their data, and to give me my answer. Or maybe I want to check the DMV records, or maybe I'm suspicious that my neighbor next door has been involved in some criminal activity that they may have been either arrested or convicted of, and I want the city police officers to do a criminal identification bureau check. All of those things are disallowed under state law. It is not our information. We have access to the information, but we are not the proprietary owners, the holders of it. That's all that this comes down to. This information that may or may not be, I don't know, nobody knows if Jeremy McGowan's license plate is going to pop up on that ALPR search. The only people that would know that is someone that was looking at that license plate for purposes of criminal identification, which is what we are limited to as a city under the terms of our agreement with the state of West Virginia. To do that would violate that contract and expose this city to liability way greater than what we have if Jeremy McGowan walks down to the circuit court's office and files a complaint claiming that we didn't comply with FOIA.
Well, more than that, I think it would open up the city to violation of not just the agreement, but the criminal laws that govern the use of police information more generally, which supersede this agreement.
I thought the information that Jeremy had here this evening was to determine, since there is no governing policy in the Code of West Virginia concerning ALPRs, and there's nothing in the city concerning ALPRs, that was to determine who is the owner of the information. And that's what I want to get to know
That's
too.
a
Who is
judicial
the
order.
owner?
Contract with the state of West Virginia says it's their information. That's what we signed as a city. That's what the mayor signed as a city. It's the state's proprietary stuff. It doesn't belong to the city of Buchanan.
The
It's
word
not ours.
proprietary doesn't show up in the mutual agreement one singular time.
Well, you read the spirit of the contract and tell me that.
Read the spirit of the FOIA agreement that the Attorney General wrote.
See, therein lies my problem with,
Mine too.
I'd really like, and I don't want to cause any more financial issues or anything like that. I think if this is going to cost us a litigation issue, I don't want us to go there, of course, because.
We have the opportunity.
Well, I understand that, Mr. O'Neill, but the truth of the matter is, if that put us in this position, we should never have been put in this position in the first place.
What I'm
Now
saying-
what I want to do is resolve it.
We have option, if you want to get a quote-unquote independent legal opinion, we have other options than going out and retaining private counsel.
What are the
Go
other
straight
options?
to the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General would give us, I think the Attorney General's office would give us a legally binding.
I have said all along, if Mr. McGowan wants the proprietary information of the state of West Virginia, why doesn't he FOIA them?
Because it's proprietary to the city of Buchanan, not to the state, according to the Records Management Act.
You ask the Attorney General for that information and see what response you
But
get.
there's no hostility.
No hostility at all. I'm being objective, I'm protecting my entity, just like I have for 32 years. I'm trying to keep us out of hot water. And if you give that information to Mr. McGowan, it's just the beginning. The barn door is gonna be wide open.
And I requested my own personal information, not my wife's information, not your wife's information. I requested my information.
Declaratory judgment.
It would go to the circuit court, require the filing of a lawsuit to do that.
I mean, that's where this is all.
I just want to get the whole thing about the FOIA over with because,
Have the Attorney General come back to another meeting and
well, quite frankly, when the Attorney General was here before, he never met with any of us.
he met with some of us.
Yeah, on a selective basis. He didn't meet with council,
I would
and it wasn't him, it
suggest-
was a representative.
I would suggest that the correct course of action, if correct course of action for the objective that you guys want to achieve, and that is an independent examination of the FOIA issue, would be more appropriately directed to the Attorney General's office. I'm not talking about the ALPR issue, I'm talking about just
No,
the
I'm talking
FOIA
about the
issue.
FOIA issue
That's right.
as relates to the ALPR information, because there is no law governing the ALPR in the state of West Virginia.
David, can you write the Attorney General for an opinion?
I sure can.
And before you mail it off, can,
Let us see.
Jeremy McGowan have a look at it, can Ron Pugh have a look at it?
Read it the next council meeting.
I'm the most transparent guy there is when it comes to those things. I'll be happy to do that, Mayor.
How about we drop this motion, have him write the Attorney General for an opinion, when he's got his letter ready to send, we'll give copies out
That's, I will rescind the motion.
and see if you agree that he's asking the question you pose.
Yes,
Good enough?
good enough for me.
Good enough, all right.